What's up, you guys? Welcome to another training video where I will incorporate some drills you guys can do at home or in open space if you're able to. I know we're starting to look a little bit better now throughout these weeks, and some of you guys could, possibly make your way out to a field. Just make sure it's not too crowded. Like you can define over there in the background, but me, just myself and my in-camera lady. Anyways, so as you noticed in the take, I cleaned my boots, so definitely that's one of my key points of staying sharp, trying to look professional. So I know I hadn't been keeping up my end of the deal, so I highly encourage that. Just to play good, you gotta look good. You know what I mean? And you bring more attention that way. After my dynamic warm-up, I will go ahead and start incorporating the drills, the dribbling drills I want here to show you guys today. They start very basic, very easy. It's just for you guys to get familiarized touching the ball, and then they progressively get better, a little bit more game-like. Some of these drills are influenced by professionals such as Messi and Pato. I'm not sure if you guys remember Pato, but he's a very good player. Anyways, but it's proven drills for them, good enough for them to incorporate into their training when they're rehabbing or when they're trying to get fit. I'm sure it's good enough for you guys. So these are pretty good drills. Hope you guys stick around to the end. If you guys liked my previous posts, my previous videos, I'll link them above if you haven't seen them already. But if anything, just if you like the content, please give it a like, subscribe, share with your friends, and let's get to it. So as you guys seen how I was setting up, short clip before, so I put cones approximately 1 step apart. So that's just basically the space I'm going to be doing the weave. And so you don't have to use cones. You can use anything in the house. You can have rocks, socks, anything you have laying around the house. You don't have to go out and buy cones specifically for these drills. But essentially it's 10 to 15 cones, 1 step apart. I'm going to be putting a picture just so you guys can see kind of the layout and how I'll be doing it. I'm going to do a quick demonstration here. What you want to do is you want to do it right. You don't want to do it fast. This is drills just to get you as many touches as possible while you're going through the cones, okay? So you're gonna use right foot first, and then we're gonna switch to left foot. Okay, you're gonna do 3 to 5 sets, okay? So let's just see how this goes. So a brief explanation of what I'll be doing is you wanna work the ball when you're on one side, the outside of the foot. So you're just touching the ball outside of the foot as many times as you can, and then with the inside, and then the outside again. You don't want the ball to go out here and then you're having to work for it. Just want it nice and touch, nice and crisp, touches, nice and soft, and so to keep it nice and controlled. So if you can, and you build up to it, you can go a little bit faster. But if you notice, my touches are nice and slow, okay? We don't want to see the ball going out here and you having to work. It will happen. It can happen. So if that does happen, just make sure you bring it back into control, and then you're back onto it. Okay? Let's see how this goes. So guys, here I go with another voiceover. I think I'm going to start implementing these throughout the videos just to kind of further explain myself, or maybe something I missed while I was explaining the drills. One thing to note is if you wish to pause the video so you can take a picture, or maybe sketch it out, or put it in the field of the cone work, how I do the setup, feel free to do so. I actually advise that you do that way you get it right. And then these same drills can be moved around and switched up, inverted, etc. Switch up the patterns. So just obviously this first one's very basic, but as the later ones come on, they're a little bit more challenging. You're going to be able to tweak them to your liking. Okay, so hopefully you guys like them. cone weave. We're going to exercise number 2. So this is called the Zig-Zag Slalom. What that is basically, I took out 2 cones from the first original setup, okay? And then so I grabbed in my hand, and then I went a few yards out, or in my case 4 steps, in between the 2 cones that I left over, and then I put them directly the opposite. So what I'll be doing is I'll be zigzagging with the ball controlled. I want to take nice small touches, just kind of how we're doing right now with the cone weave. When you're going around the cone, you want to take small touches, but as soon as you clear the cone, you need to explode into the other cone. And then same thing when you get to the other cone, you want to take small touches in order to get nice controlled touches and then explode out. Okay? So let's see how that looks. So as you guys can see in this new drill, I'm getting off from a sprint over to some short touches. Try to focus on crisp touches around the cones, and I try to pick up the pace as I leave. A progression for this drill would be the spacing in between the cones, so both vertically and horizontally you can extend it, make it a little bit longer. So that will focus pretty good on your ability to sprint off the cone, and then having to manage the short touches around the cones as you decelerate in order to change direction. Remember that these types of drills, they take some, obviously you're running a little bit more, so try to take the adequate time to maybe a minute or 2 minutes of rest in between sets, especially if you're doing the 5 sets total per drill. That way you get your full recovery and you're executing these at 100%. Now that we're nice and tired, we did the Zig-Zag Slalom. We can expand the field a little bit. If you can get out to a pitch, it'd be great. If you can't, you can do short-sided, just up and back. You could do a couple sets maybe. If you're nice and tired, just make sure you do it with intensity and you're getting the point across. So what we're trying to do here is I set up a field about 30 yards apart. I used my phone. iPhone's got a really cool measurement tool. So you pick a point and then you travel the distance you want to go, and then that's how I got my 30 yards. If you're in a football field, obviously the measurements are about a little bit easier. So anyways, so what you do is, we're not focusing too much on small touches, or trying to keep the ball close to our feet yet. So what we're trying to do is basically like you're in a breakaway, so you're forward, so you want to sprint with the ball. So obviously I put the cones here, the gates, in order for me to kind of stay leveled, stay within that range. I don't want the ball going everywhere, because we obviously want to keep control of the ball. So with that said, we're gonna go from one end all the way to the other end, obviously in a 100% sprint. If you can challenge yourself and you're fit enough to maybe make a cut at the end and then work your way back, same thing, same intensity, 100%, then I challenge you to do so. But if those of you who are not fit enough yet, just go ahead and just do one rest and then work your way back. Okay? So with that said, let's see how that looks. So one thing I forgot to mention on this drill was the separation between the gates. I used about 3 steps. So obviously a progression would be to narrow it down and make it a little bit longer. So in order to challenge yourself, either keep it as is or make it a little bit more narrow so you can keep more control of the ball. Alright, so we're keeping the same setup. Now we're gonna, instead of taking long strides, in a full sprint, we're gonna just tone it down a little bit to maybe 85 to 90% sprint. What we're gonna do is as we're touching the ball, we're sprinting every single pace, every single step, we're touching the ball once. So keeping it nice and controlled, just in case you're obviously at another breakaway. However, there's defenders in your area, you don't want to lose track of the ball. You want to keep it nice and tight. So as you're sprinting, you're touching the ball every single time. Okay, and remember, you use the outside of your foot to propel the ball forward. So you want to kind of just tilt your foot slightly and then you hit it with kind of the laces and kind of almost the top of your pinky toe, and then it'll propel it to go forward, you know? Because oftentimes if you use the inside of your foot, it can go to different directions. Okay, so a little bit more controlled is if you're in a sprint and you make yourself a little bit more unpredictable. When you take the outside touch, you can cut it to any side, right? So with that said, let's see how that looks. So just want to reiterate, you don't want to neglect the opposite foot. Obviously practice with both feet, right and left. Do the same amount of sets. That way you're developing all together as a whole. Now that we got the fitness out of the way, so this was called the Messi dribbling drill. So what that is, we start off with the gate, and then as you saw the setup a little bit, so 10 paces, about 45 degrees from the gate, so 45 degrees over to this cone, and then from there we do another maybe certain angle, another 45 degrees, back into the second cone, and then you walk 10 paces over to this one in a straight line, and then another 45 degrees over to this cone. Okay, so just to explain the drill a little bit, you're gonna start at the gate, all right? You're gonna sprint with the ball. You don't have to go over the cone, around the cone. You just, as soon as you get to the cone, you want to do a cutting motion, whether it's a chop, whether it's, you know, pull back, outside of the foot, inside of the foot. It's freestyle, you can do whatever you want, but make sure you cut hard on that cone. And then you go to the second cone, same thing. And it's a longer sprint over to this third cone here, and then another sprint to that fourth cone, and then you finish out just with a jog and you rest, okay? And then obviously you want to take a minute to 2 minutes rest in between, because these do get tiring after you've done your sets. So just like Messi, you want to cut hard. You know, Messi's always cutting directions, going from one side over to the other side, making himself unpredictable for the team. He goes from one opponent over to the next, and he just goes around them. Okay, so focus on your cutting, focus on your change of direction, and on your follow-up with your acceleration and your sprint. All right, let's see how that looks. So right off the gate, we see here there's acceleration, of course, as we cut through the first cone. This drill emulates Messi's style of play, as there's a lot of stop and go. It changes directions and obviously tries to keep tight control of the ball. So when you're on the sprint, after you make that cut, try to keep the ball close to your foot, obviously at a good pace. That way you're keeping the ball nice and controlled. So now that we've done the Messi drill, it was nice and fun. We're gonna do the Pato drill. So the Pato drill is we form a gate off the starting point. Okay, then we count 10 paces, 10 steps over to the first cone, where we will set up the ball on one side of the cone. Then we're gonna walk 5 steps over to the middle. We're gonna put a cone there, and then we're gonna walk 2 steps, forming that second cone, forming the gate. And then we're gonna count 5 additional steps over to the other cone over there. And then from there, we're gonna count 10 steps and form this box here. Okay, so we're gonna start off with a sprint from that gate, 100% sprint. We're gonna get to that first cone. We're gonna have to manage our touch and coming off a sprint, getting control of the ball, and then going around that first cone nice and tight. Then we're gonna sprint over to that first cone. We're gonna dribble through the gate, obviously managing nice crisp touches. So you're gonna have to slow down. You're gonna have to work on your pace coming off a sprint, and then having to slow down and manage your touches. Okay, so you're gonna weave through the cones, and then you're gonna finish off, obviously accelerate after passing that second cone. You're gonna get to that cone, you're gonna cut, and then you're gonna finish off, obviously accelerating from that cone. You're gonna finish off at this gate. Okay, you can stop the ball right there in the 4 cones. Let's see how that looks. So this drill here, just like the ones before, you can make it a little bit more challenging by changing the location of the cones. So either make them longer, or in this case, maybe the 2 cones in the middle, you can make them a little bit smaller. So it forces you to take a little bit more controlled, more crisp touches around those 2 cones, and maybe elongate those outer cones in order for you to make a longer sprint. Obviously focusing the deceleration as soon as you get to those cones to make that nice cut. So that concludes our training session for today, guys. Hope you guys enjoyed these drills. Like I said, they start out very basic, something you can do at home, and progressively they do get a little bit more intense, a little bit more game-like, more realistic. So obviously a wider space is obviously a little bit better, but do what you can. Like I said, just keep doing everything with intensity. Make sure you get your proper rest in between sets so that you're doing it 100% and you're not just cutting yourself short because you're fatigued. All right, fitness can be done in any part of of your situation, whether it's running on a treadmill, running at home, doing jump ropes, etc. But when you try to incorporate the ball, you need a little bit more space, and obviously you need the dedication to not cheat yourself. Okay, so with that said, hopefully you guys enjoyed it. Please give it a like, subscribe, share it with your friends. More videos are coming out. I know my timeline isn't as great right now, but I got work, got situations, so hopefully you guys can understand. Be patient. If you guys have any suggestions, any videos you guys would like me to incorporate, or even a little bit more in detail, certain moves, or maybe you want to know about my warm-up, what I do to warm up, just let me know. Description will be below for any timestamps or anything specific to this drill that I may have missed. So hopefully you guys enjoyed it. I love doing these things for you guys. Got people in the background asking me if I want to play, but I'd rather be here with you guys. Setting you guys up for success. Okay, so like I said, let me know, follow my journey. I'm learning as a coach. Help me out here. Okay, have a nice day, guys.